welcome back to Knitting in Our Jeans. I'm Liz.
I'm Carolyn.
And you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Toolizzforyou, Toolizzforyou.
And I'm got a hair. cpredmor on Ravelry, and on Instagram I'm posting as Knitting in Our Jeans. And our garden is doing really well.
Yeah.
It's taken off. I had to raise the lamplight this morning.
Oh my goodness.
Because it gets, right now they said to feed it every 2 weeks. So yesterday was the 2-week mark. I mean, they were amazing yesterday, but we fed them and they grew an inch or so overnight, and they're going like crazy now. So.
And we've got lettuce and tomatoes. The lettuce is what's going gangbusters right now.
Which is to be expected. Lettuce does that. So I've been posting about that, and then you may have seen some of my weaving, so I'm going to report on that too.
Okay, yes.
But yeah, I'm on Ravelry as cpredmor.
And 1 minute general life update. I will be starting a new position in the near future, so we probably won't be putting out Monday recordings anymore.
Probably not.
It's just been nice to have that leeway during these last few months because of just general malaise and or migraines and or
we went sailing.
And we were just exhausted because it happens.
Yes.
But I did want to let you all know that so that maybe we'll get back on our Sunday schedule once again.
Right.
But yeah, so
we'll do our best.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. So what have you been working on?
I have tons of things to talk about.
You do. I'm so excited.
Tons.
I do too, though.
Tons.
Yes.
Okay. Look at Olivia.
She's
Yeah, I
so
know.
cute.
She still doesn't have any eyeballs.
It's
but
okay.
I'm doing according to the pattern. So if you notice, her sweater is looking much sleeker because I did steam it.
You did. Yesterday was a good day.
Yes, and I put one of our presser rollers up inside. Right now she's got a ball of yarn.
One of the sleeve pressers.
Yes, it wasn't the tailor's ham, it was a roll.
It's a sausage.
It's a seam roll is what it is. And so that went up inside here, and then I steamed with my steam shot. So the iron was at least this far away from good old Olivia. And I think you can see that it really evened it out.
Yeah, it really did.
If this were a person's sweater instead of Olivia's sweater, I would have changed to one size up needles because I am very tight
on
these DPNs. Because I have a history of watching my DPN shoot out of the stitches and land on the floor, and then I'm throwing whatever I'm knitting down to go get the needle, and then of course stitches have been started raveling. So I do tend to hold the work on DPNs much tighter than I do on circular needles or straight needles. Now, someone could say, why aren't you using a circular needle? And the answer is that this pattern is set up for DPNs. I know, I took my hair down and hair went all over the place. And I just, in this past row, made the markers for the leg placement. So Olivia is being constructed all of a piece and is being stuffed as you go along. So I need to know where these placements need to be. And could I put stitch markers on? I could put stitch markers on. But I seem to be keeping track of where I am in Olivia better with the DPNs because that's the way the pattern is set up. So that's the state of the art. She is moving along. I suspect that I will get down to, there's rows 1 through 21 for the pants, which is what this is. I am now on I just finished row 14. So I'm sure I'll be able to do another 7 rows on her. And at that point, I stuff the pants up to here. Her head is obviously already stuffed. So then her body gets stuffed.
And then you finish making the pants.
And then I go to row 22 where we start decreasing. So that'll hold in. There are some decreases down to 21. So you've got a bit of the closure coming. Stuff. and then you finish the decreases. So what I'll do is I'll get to row 24, it looks like, and finish my decreases so that all the stuffing will stay in. And that will probably be all that I do this week on Olivia.
Well, because it seems to make your hands hurt quite a bit.
She hurts my hands because I'm holding her so tightly. So that's what's going on with Olivia. Now, would you like to take a turn?
Sure. So last week I spoke to you all about possibly swatching a different color combo for, or did I swatch already? I can't remember.
Yes.
For the Aunt Fred. I have since washed and blocked the swatch, and actually that looks so much different on camera, the berry, than in person. But I think I'm going to try the berry. I do like the olive. I actually like the olive a lot more than I thought I would. But I also think now that I've worked with the olive so much, I think I could actually make a sweater, just a sweater from it, and be happy with that. And that was part of the reason why I think I was thinking about leaning towards it last week, because I could see definitely using the berry as something else, because it's in my color palette. Right. But I think just as a plain sweater, it would be a lovely addition to my collection.
Yes.
But this is the swatch. It makes me really happy. I'm waiting on the Merlot. I did get it from someone on Ravelry who actually just messaged me. It is currently lost in the USPS Maelstrom. That is the USPS right now, which is fine. Use USPS as much as you can unless you need something by defined time, but definitely still support the USPS. So she has put in an inquiry as to where it is, which is fine. I don't need it right now. I have other yarn I can use, or not use, but I can work on. So next is my washcloth. So this is my first piece that I was weaving. And to finish off the edges, what I will do over here is I have already stitched it, turned it over, and I have stitched it with a zigzag. So that's not going to go anywhere. But I wanted to leave this to tell you that these are thrums. So when you talk about thrummed mittens or thrummed anything, there's a lot of waste in weaving. This is my attachment down to the roll that has my completed weaving. So you don't weave into this. This is holding things tight, all this kind of stuff. So I will be cutting this off right at the beginning of the yellow, and then you're left with all of this. Well, most weavers back in the day, this would have been some form of wool. And so now you're looking at pieces that are somewhere between 7 and 9 inches long of wool, which was not cheap. And if you spun it, it's representing a lot of hours. And so you think about, well, what can I do with this? So let me cut one of these things off. I'll cut it off short because this is cotton, so I'm not going to be using it for thrumming anything. But you could use it for stuffing something.
I could use it for stuffing something. I could put it inside Olivia.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a thrum that's been cut off. Now, in knitting, let's see if I can, I'll use my, that may not have been the best thing I could have done.
Oops.
Oops is right. Where is that? Where is it leading from? Okay, so here's my sweater. Let me get 1 or 2 stitches in, and I can show you what you do with a thrum. And I have 2 pairs of thrum mittens. One pair is a solid color with a white set of thrums so that they look like they're polka dot. Mm-hmm. And that's a look. You know, so that's something that you decide that you want to do. And I have a pair of wildly colored mittens. And I got fleece that is wildly colored. So you can't see what the thrums are.
Yeah.
And on the outside, so this is the next stitch I'm going to knit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap my thrum around that stitch so that I'm not knitting the thrum. I'm incorporating the thrum into my work. Now, there are some patterns that will tell you, well, you can knit the thrum just like it was a stitch, or you. And I
wrap it around.
I wrap it around because this way, the stitches or the body of whatever it is you're working on, be it a sweater, be it gloves, remains constant. My first set of thrum mittens, I knitted the thrum instead of a stitch, and
you did it like color work instead of holding it two together at that point.
And I believe, even though the mittens worked fine, and the only reason I have a replacement mitten is because I've managed to wear through the mitten, and I like knitting enough I don't need to repair the mitten. I can make a new pair of mittens. But I wasn't as happy with what I thought the structure of the mitten was. So this is basically how I work the thrum. Now, honestly, let me back up. With a wool thrum, first of all, I wouldn't make it this thick. My thrums that I do with wool are actually only about a pencil width wide, if that. I use very, very slim thrums. So if this were wool, I would actually separate this out. Sorry, the cotton is tangling because it's been through the washer and the dryer. One of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to finish off the weaving. And in order to do that, you put something through the washer, dryer, or you beat it. If it's wool, you can wet it, wash it, beat it, so it forms cloth instead of being able to see through it. With a wool thrum, this is even more than I would use, maybe this much, a very little bit, I fold them into bow ties. And then I twist them. And then I will wrap the bow tie around the stitch and knit it in. And what this does is it gives me
You're like giving away all the sauce to one of your classes here.
It doubles up. Well, most of our people are not going to be in New York City. This doubles up the layer of the thrum within the mitten, which is nice. It also, when you put your hand in the mitten, this is more disciplined or tamed thrums than to have these loose ends, hanging around your hand. So there's a number of different ways that patterns will tell you to work with thrums. And obviously now, most of us are not weavers. Obviously I'm taking up weaving because, why am I doing it? Well, Richard keeps taking my towels.
On the boat.
On the boat.
Here we have our own colors.
Right.
I even have my own color even though I don't live here full time because this is just how it works in this house because it's safer if you all are assigned your own color.
Right. So I know that he will not use something that is woven like this, and he's been told that this is mine. Now, my first weaving project was pretty bad, and it was 2 years ago, and they were green and blue, and it was a kit, but what I thought was going to be like a more muted green turned out to be like a neon green. Mm-hmm. I wasn't thrilled. So anyway, I was not as careful or as aware of how important it was to really put pressure or tension is the word, on the warp as I wound it on my loom. And those towels are a much looser warp than they should have been. And so I basically gave up for quite a while. Now, this, you can see there's a couple places that I miss picking up.
Just
there. What I should have been picking up. And part of the problem was when you're rolling the warp onto your loom, you need to keep each round as you keep winding it on separate from what was wound below, because otherwise it will stick to each other. You've seen the problem I've had with keeping the cotton apart. Can you imagine with wool? That's how sticky that is. So you want to be putting separators in. Now, when I bought both my looms, they sent me some large, long pieces of 1-inch cardboard. And they're good, but I have not invested in 100 pieces of this cardboard. And I probably should have or do something similar, or what I'm thinking of is actually having a piece of muslin that is cut exactly the width, the maximum width of my loom, so that as I wind it on, this is going to be laying evenly across the warp as it's wound on. At the moment, I was using parchment paper, and I thought it was going to be wide enough, but it's not wide enough, because this is actually covering the width of my loom prior to washing and drying. I love the way that it closed up the holes.
Yeah.
After the washing and drying. I washed it on high heat, maximum beating.
Well, because it's cotton.
Yeah, and I did the same thing in the dryer. So, and then when I took this off, I retensioned the warp to make the towel that will go with this washcloth of mine. And it's doing pretty well.
It is. It looks very good. I am
very pleased with it. So there will be this cross, this stripe of this color, which is in the towel as this very dark blue line. I have just wound the lighter lavender onto a spool for a shuttle, so that I'll be able to incorporate that in further up the towel. And actually what the directions on these towels say is, don't separate your towels. I supposedly could make 5 22-inch towels. Well, I don't want a 22-inch towel, be that as may. And she said, just
go
weave until you're at the end and can't weave anymore, until basically you come to the end and you're straining the warp on the far end. And then cut it off, and then cut your towels into the lengths that you want. Zigzag, so that they're not going to come apart. And then my plan is to have at least a 30-inch towel, or 30-inch towels. And then they will be my towels for the boat. And yes, I understand they're not going to be as thirsty as, say, a terry towel that has some height to it. But at least they're not going to disappear, which is part of the problem. So anyway, what I will do after we get done talking to you all is I will cut the thumbs off of here. And I like the idea of using them for stuffing Olivia. So I can certainly do this. They will make good stuffing. So that's the next thing.
So I have picked up, as I said, my Barndom by Stephen West. And I have, I just took the yarn. I have my yarn in one of these cases that is now stretched out because they've been in it for so long.
Yeah.
So that's not helpful anymore. But these are the two colors, as I said previously last week. It's the Moment and Ace by Nerd Girl on Pony. And
nice.
This
Very
is the current status of the Barndom. I realized I have screwed up the pattern towards the end here, but we're not going to focus on that. And so I think I have about 10 more pattern rows, and then I just have the border.
That's excellent. It's really pretty.
Yeah, and it's quite nice. So yeah, I've been working on that.
I think we ought to bring up the fact that Untangled has gone online to sell their virtual tickets. Oh, sorry. Because that's going to have something to do with Stephen West.
How?
Because I bought the minis.
Oh.
And I'm going to be using the minis that I've got and the minis I'm going to get in that design.
Paint box?
Yes. So I'm going to use black, actually probably a very dark gray, to be the coordinating color through all of that, and then use all of my minis as the little jewels in the paint box. So the Untangled, as we will later say, they talk about their minis. They give you a link to 3 different patterns that they suggest. But as you know, this is not knit. This is a fabric top. But you could do stripes and stripes and stripes.
It's a knit fabric. It's not a woven.
Right. It's a machine knit. Not one.
It's a commercial knit.
I think of it as fabric.
Okay.
Anyway, you could do sweaters that are just stripe upon stripe upon stripe, and I think that would be fun too. Anyway,
Painting bricks. Sorry, I was wrong. It's the painting bricks shawl.
is what I'm going to be using my minis for, and I'm very excited about that. So that's what Stephen
is related.
Is related. All right. Now the next thing, I have everything.
Apparently, we're trading this week.
Yes.
This is fun.
Well, didn't you want to do that?
I like it.
Okay. I've won my next spool.
Yes.
There it is. Make sure that goes
Downstairs.
Something came in the mail.
Yes, something did come in the mail.
This is Lily Pulitzer, and it is a handprint. It's from a company called Key West Handprint, and it's labeled here someplace along the selvage. Here it is, but it's in pink. All right. There, you can see it online. This is from the 1960s.
And you've run it through the washer and dryer?
Run it through the washer and dryer. See, it's definitely
Softer.
than it was.
Definitely.
I have a walking dress that you've seen a lot of because it is so comfortable, and I just throw it on. So I said, I need a few more of these. And I realized that part of what I liked about my walking dress is it just makes me smile when I put it on. And I think we all like clothes that make us smile when we put them on. So I said, well, part of what makes me smile when I put it on is it's a Lily Pulitzer. And I bought that fabric down in Florida, probably in Key West. So who knew? I certainly didn't know at that time that that's where the fabric was being made. But we were at a Lily Pulitzer store. And I couldn't afford her clothes at that point.
Yeah.
But I could afford her fabric. So that's where my walking dress came from. So anyway, I have this, which has been through the washer and dryer. And then I found this. It's a Megan Nielsen. So it's one of those new pattern companies. Indie pattern company. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the length of this top instead of that length, because that length on me looks awful. And then I will attach a shorter skirt. So my skirt will only be that long instead of that long, but it will be a better length for me. So I have my pattern.
So you're going to make a drop waist dress, even though
my walking dress is a drop waist dress. And this, I don't see any problem with the shirt.
I don't see a problem with the dress either, Mom.
I don't like that length right there.
And you can drop it 2 or 3 inches. I wouldn't drop it. Okay.
I'm dropping it down to there. Anyway, I'm hoping by next week I'll have a dress.
Look at that.
Look at that. And there's no zipper. Look at that.
Nice.
No zipper. So it really is
buttons or
no, nothing.
Does this call for a woven or for stretch?
Woven.
Interesting. Yeah, I see it, Mom. Interesting.
Yeah. We have Swedish pattern paper. So
yes,
if I make it up in the Swedish pattern paper first, I'll be able to figure out if there's any problems. So that's my next fear.
So I did get to the arm separation of my Engle. Here are the arms. I tried it on yesterday or this morning. I actually can't remember.
It's gorgeous.
And it fits. It looks really good. It's not extremely oversized, which I like, even though I'm knitting an extremely oversized size because my gauge is off. Remember, gauge. So I am really excited about it. It's beautiful. I am finding the mohair to be a little bit squiffy to work with. It just goes, sheesh. And sometimes you miss a stitch and sometimes you knit 2 together, and so you have to be a bit more cautious when knitting with it.
Okay.
Just because of the mohair, it does attach to other stitches very well, which is also nice when you accidentally drop a stitch and it doesn't ladder very far.
Right.
But I had wanted to cast on the Aunt Fred, but that yarn hasn't shown up yet, which is fine. So I did have to cast something else on.
Oh well.
Yeah. So, do you want me to
go ahead?
So, I cast on this. So this is my Vivien by Ponder and Ply. out of, I think this is a homespun house, and I have a swatch that I did. Where is it? Here it is, I think. No, it's hanging up. I hung it up. I did the thing that I am supposed to do, and I hung it up.
Washed it.
I washed it, and I figured out that I liked the size 6 needles fabric that it came out with, which ended up being about 6 stitches to the inch. Between the 5s and the 6s, it didn't change.
Okay.
I would have to probably go up to a 7, and I really didn't want to because I like the fabric of this yarn at a 6. So I'm actually knitting 2 sizes larger, I think, than I would usually. And also I did the math based on the ease guidance given in the pattern, as well as just general math. So I have only 400 yards of this, but I would need like 450 to 480. So I had to find a secondary colorway to do the hem, which is at, your waistline, which mine happens to be quite high, so it's fine. And I would do it for the halter top collar and probably the back ribbing as well. So there was a lot of searching, y'all. A lot of stash searching that happened. But I ended up picking this, which is a Yummy 2-ply toes.
Nice.
Mini from Miss Babs. And it's in the color lead, which is this like gray with a definite green cast. But it looks really beautiful with the top. So I cast that on. I knit 2 inches in twisted rib. Yay! And now I am on the body, which is increasing now for the bust. And that is a slow increase continually because also it's accounting for your ribs. Because your waist is typically lower than your ribs, and mine is, so barely. But So I have 64 rows in total to do, and then I go on to the next direction, and I just finished, I think, row 16. So I'm chugging along because right now it's just knitting stockinette in a circle, which is really nice because I had headaches a lot this week, but also with the storm that came through. You all saw me last Monday. That was a bad day. Tuesday was a bad day. And then
Tuesday was the
storm. And then
and we lost power. We blinked 3 times on Tuesday, but and it powered down. I mean, the air conditioners went off, the TV went off, everything kind of went off, but then came back on. So the day of the tropical storm, we really were doing quite well. Twice since then, we've lost power for at least a half an hour. As they work on getting main structures reattached, they have to depower some of the things that are live so that they can make the new attachments. The unfortunate thing is they don't tell you when they're going to do this. Now, both times we've been very lucky. I wasn't cooking. I wasn't doing anything that required electricity. The first time it was pretty close. I had almost just started dinner. And it would have been pretty bad. To have what I was working with sit and congeal for half an hour before everything powered back. This is a minor complaint. It's not that big a deal. There are still people that are totally without power. Here it is.
And we're heading into a heat wave.
And it's a week after the storm. The storm hit last Tuesday at starting about 11 o'clock in the morning. And here it is. It's a small tropical storm. It's not the size of Sandy. And they're still out, which is terrible, actually. It's just terrible.
Yeah.
Though we've been very lucky.
Yeah.
But that's why, and both of us are being affected by the storm.
Yeah.
And for those of you in the Midwest, please take
great care
so that you're safe. We understand that there's a weather line, whether it's a high or a low, I can't tell you, but there's a weather line that's cutting through the Midwest, and right along that line there are some tremendous thunderstorms.
And possible tornadoes and high winds.
Right. And so they're putting out warnings about that. We expect to see that somewhere around Thursday and Friday. Yeah. Can't wait. So anyway, those kind of storms lower the barometric pressure, and we start reacting to it.
Yeah.
It just is. It just is. So we're fine.
Mm-hmm.
I got some more reading done this week. I was reading the Kellermans. One, the husband writes about Alex Delaware, and I can't remember either one of their first names at the moment. And then she writes about the Deckers, Rena and Peter Decker. And they're both murder mysteries, and I've read 3 of hers and 1 of his. So I read 4 books this week, which does cut down a little bit on my knitting and weaving. The weaving, I think, is about 10 inches. I didn't measure it. I also didn't lug the thing upstairs. We'll see how far it gets by next week. I am finding it a lot of fun. Now, for those of you who are wondering why I started with the blues rather than the white and the gray, if you remember, I had said I needed some more pieces for my bigger loom. Now, 1 piece has come in and I haven't opened the box. It's either the reed, the 12-dent reed, or it's the rattle. But I haven't gotten 2 boxes. So I still, no matter where it came, it's not sufficient to be able to put the big loom together. So I'd like to do this and get myself back into the scheme of things in terms of weaving before I start with the big loom, because I'm sure that's going to be a laugh and a half getting that set up. That's going to
come running like a cat.
Oh, he loves watching this stuff. He loves watching me weave.
So funny.
And he goes, it's really coming along, and he really inspects it. He is as interested in my weaving as he is in the hydroponic garden.
Yes. Which is to say, he was not enthused at all until it started doing stuff.
Yes. Yes, he is just thrilled with hydroponics at the moment, and he can't wait to start eating things off the plants.
Yeah.
I think we may be able to have each of us a small salad by next week.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, they're going great guns. So it's hysterically fun. Let's see what else I have in my box. Do you have anything else to
What
talk
have you
about?
been working on?
I just picked this up
Okay.
right here. This is my circle sweater, and I will be working on it while we're talking to you. And then I'm going to put it down because I'm going to work on Olivia.
Yes.
So I have been reading. I have been weaving. I have been worrying. Well, the weaving, it took me 3 days to warp it. I learned a lot about the warping. There's quite a few videos, well, at least 3 videos from Ashford for me to watch again to be able to start the warping or to attempt the warping on the big loom. The warping for this took longer than I thought it should, but I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty pleased with how things are turning out. So the weaving I worked on, Olivia I worked on, I washed and dried the fabric.
Yeah.
I have scouted out patterns.
Yes.
So maybe by next week I'll have the sleeves in the other dress. The
Maybe.
ones that'll snap in and out.
know.
So getting some mojo back, which is nice.
That is nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
What else do you have?
I have a crazy idea
to
do tonight. So, I am going to be going into Manhattan tomorrow for a few things. So I have been wanting to make one of those wrap tops that I have out of this fabric. And I'm going to line it because it is a bit
see-through-ish?
Well, yeah, I'd say, right? Do you think it needs to be lined?
Well, it depends what you're going to do with it.
I'm going to make a top.
Is it going to be a shirt type of top?
Shirt
or is
type
it right
of top.
next to your
Right
bust?
next to me, yes.
Well, I think for a summer shirt, actually, look, nothing comes through, dear.
Okay.
I think
So then
you
I don't
have to line it.
Well, then I might just figure out the facings for it so I don't have to deal with bias tape. That makes it so much easier. I'm going to make a top tonight so I can wear it tomorrow and then have a coordinating mask.
Because the night?
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Since Dad and I are going in tomorrow.
All right.
We can talk about it later. I can also make it at home. I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, y'all. Did you hear her?
It doesn't matter.
So that's my crazy idea for tonight.
Okay.
But what came in the mail was a shirt from Nerdbird Makery. Vote.
Oh,
We've got a knitter and a crocheter. Yes.
Yes.
A knitter and a crocheter.
Oh, nice.
So to remind people to go out and
vote.
If you can't go out, be aware of your
state's requirements
for absentee ballots. New York is one that still has not deemed the coronavirus for the general election as a valid excuse, as they call it, I think, for doing absentee. But we are, at least in... We will have early... I know in Queens we'll have early voting.
We'll have early voting.
And you'll have early voting. So look into your early voting, because I know I did it last October, and it was really lovely. I went a few days early, and it was myself and just all the poll workers. Like, I have a polling location that is, for the early voting, that is quite heavily staffed. I guess during regular times, hopefully it will still be as well staffed. And if you are able to, please volunteer to staff and be a poll worker if you are able to. So just be aware of your state's different requirements and get out and vote.
I have used the early voting here in Nassau County. In fact, I went right up to the Levittown Town Hall, and there was me and town workers. There wasn't anybody, there were no voters there. Yeah. And I was able to vote midday because this was last year. We were voting for some town thing. And I went, I don't know, 9 o'clock in the morning, and it was, I could have thrown a bowling ball down the hall and it wouldn't have hit anybody. So if they don't, I'm thinking that that's what I'm going to do. Put my mask on, go and do early voting, get it over, get it done with, back home.
And if not, I do know that there is a move to also have ballot drop-off. Well, I believe you can also drop off your ballot at a polling location. If you do have a absentee ballot, you can still drop it off instead of mailing it in. If you do intend on mailing it, please be considerate to mail it in about 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks early. But also...
the Postal Service is running a little slow. They've cut some of their overtime. So that
all of it, I think.
All the overtime has been cut. So we're not getting the mail delivery speed that we have been getting that I can remember. Yeah.
So, but also there is a move to also have community collection as well as just set up
special ballot collections?
Yeah, set up special ballot collections at community center type places or at, the local court or town hall, those kinds of things. So keep your eye out for those and just
as my dad used to say, you really can't complain if you don't vote. So get out and vote. Doesn't really matter who you vote for, just get out and vote. I have voted in every election that since I came of voting age, and I've
missed a primary or two, but
pleased to say that then I can complain if I don't like what's going on. I did my civic duty by voting. Yep. And sometimes that's the only thing you can do. Yeah. So anyway, check it out. Be sure you're registered, and remember to vote. Yeah.
So I did get that shirt. I'm really excited about it. I think this week I'll be having a bit more in the mail. I think this week, maybe next week, who knows. Got a few things coming in. That Star Wars fabric I ordered, I got the shipping notice for. And I've got the yarn for the sweater coming in. So yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Well, I think that I'm going to be switching to, since I'm not going to be doing Harry Potter, I think I may be switching to more sewing. Yeah. So that'll be good. I will have time to do that.
Yes. I want to get a few things done.
I've got a lot downstairs.
Yes, I know you do.
Yes, I do.
I know. I at least have a few things that I would like to get done, even though the deadlines. Done. Yes, we can do that. I figured we could do a mass once my fabric comes in. We could do a whole mass cutting, and
we could do that.
Do that.
We could do that.
So one of the deadlines for a sewing project I had has been moved. Actually, 2 of them have technically been moved, but I'm still going to try and get the pants and top done for just for middle of October, because I would like to get them done.
Dining room table open for cutting, and then the other side for sewing.
Yeah. And then I have that dress that I started. I just haven't finished because I need to order some black bias tape, which I should do. And I also need to, I actually think I have a, why am I saying I need to? We have a zipper downstairs that'll fit it. And I'm pretty sure I have it with the stuff for it.
Okay.
Because I organized our zipper collection, and we definitely have zippers. We
make a zipper.
Yes, we are not at a loss for zippers here, y'all. So that'll be good, and I do want to make that wrap dress because I think that would be fun to try out. But I'm going to make that top today. It's gonna be great.
Good.
It's gonna be great.
Very good.
But yeah, other than that,
Are you done?
I think I'm done.
Okay, so I got mail.
Oh, you got mail.
Remember, I showed you this
Yes,
yesterday. The new knits came in. It says, knit your favorite sweater, as if we haven't already knitted our favorite sweater. Now, it has, it talks about Freya hand-painted yarns, and I have several skeins of that I have yet to use. That's my fault, not theirs. But they've got a whole section on colorwork sweaters.
Yeah.
My mother would feel so comfortable with that because she would knit Argyle socks for my dad. And some of this, to me, looks very 1940s.
Yes.
It's so funny. I've been looking at some of the vintage patterns. There's a dress that I made that suddenly, after I'd had it for 50 years, I thought it was enough, and I threw it out. And I don't know what happened to the pattern, so today I bought another one.
Nice.
Yes. And I also bought from one of the independent designers. It calls it a play suit, but you can actually split it into skirts and a top. So that's coming too. But look at this. Isn't that just sweet?
So sweet.
I like that.
I like the other, the one that's it's simple like that. You'll see it. Not yet.
The
hat's beautiful.
The hat is stunning. Absolutely stunning. I love
could see doing that hat.
Sunrise type of pattern. And then here's this one that I said reminds me of the 1940s.
Yeah. It reminds me of something popular.
You know what? I have that Susan Crawford.
Yeah, you do. It's over there.
Yes. Look at this. Is this the one you're talking about? This is stunning.
It's gorgeous.
Absolutely stunning. Yes, I want to get to my Susan Crawford. There's so many things. Weaving, sewing, all of this takes up time.
I know.
Our knitting group.
It gets into your nap time.
Nap time. I'm becoming really good at nap time. Our knitting group was just online, and there's some of them are saying, this unstructured time is getting to them. I'm going, I'm an article improving your stranding work. I hold my stranding yarn in 2 hands, so I'm knitting continental with one, and I'm throwing with the other. That's not my problem. I tend to, when I'm nervous or anxious about something, my knitting tightens up. And I must be anxious about my color work because it tightens up. So when I need to go up a needle.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah, but color work is not the only thing they have in here.
No, they have cables.
They do. My love of cables.
I mean, it's pretty great cables.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Wait a minute. I don't want to miss any of them. Look at these. They are fantastic. That gray, oh my goodness, isn't that just gorgeous? And the green, it's just a classic cable sweater. Look at that. Okay. But this, look at that. I love that. Do you see it? It has these lines that come down that almost look like pleats on a dress. And then it opens up into stockinette fit. I love that. And then it's got a few bobbles. I may not do the bobbles. I may do something else that's decorative at that point. I am not a bobble girl. It's called the Lori pullover, and I just find it stunning. And then there is this one, which has one pattern on one side of the front and a different pattern on the other. Mm-hmm. That'll make people stand back and take notice. The light gray is called the walnut.
Yeah.
Oh, just lovely. Absolutely lovely. The alder is what I call a more traditional cable pullover.
Yeah.
And then they have something called a Glover wrap and a Westfall pullover.
The Westfall pullover is really beautiful.
So there's the wrap, and here's the Westfall. That looks fascinating.
And then I think there's more.
There is. There's one I think they have as a male pattern. But I think anybody can wear it.
I think this one is that one.
Yes.
Look
at that. One. That's fantastic. Yes. That is the Braiden, Braiden, and that I think is just fantastic.
It's beautiful.
Yes. This is Haiku Simply Natural by Skakel. I wonder if that's fingering. It looks like.
No, I think I looked it up and it's like actually Aaron.
Really?
It's like 130 something to 50 grams or to 100 grams.
Really?
I think. Look.
I'm trying it.
I know.
Turn the page. I went one page too far. Okay, there's the Braiden.
Oh, but it's alpaca, so it's 183 to 100 grams. So it's about a worsted.
Yeah. Very, very nice.
Yeah.
So it's alpaca, merino, and mulberry silk that they've done it in. And it is 100 grams or 183 yards. So, yeah. Stunning.
It's beautiful.
And at a worsted or Aran weight, you'd be done it in no time. Except for the time it takes to do the cables. So, that's what hit my mailbox this week. Very exciting. Lots of good stuff in there.
And what hit our digital mailboxes is the Indie Untangled virtual. I can't remember what it's called. So Indie Untangled has moved online for this year. If you go to the Indie Untangled website, you can find the information there under events.
Tickets, I believe, are $5.
They are.
And then they have scheduled events with designers. Mm-hmm. They also have their bags.
Yes.
And you can get a bag with nothing in it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can get a bag with all kinds of samples.
Swag.
Guess which one I got?
The swag.
You got it.
I did
swag.
Too.
I'm so used to helping out.
Mm-hmm.
And
also, the first few years you were in that first group, so you would get a bag too. But also, and then I bought a bag after, for you to pick up that one year.
Right. So I did get the one with the swag in it. I have no regrets.
No.
Then you can also get minis or samples of what each of the designers would have brought or is offering up for sale.
So what it is there's a rustic sample set, which is from, I think, 10 to 15, maybe more, yarn companies and dyers, specifically rustic yarn, so not superwash. So it could include something maybe from Jade Cashmere, something from Mayak, something could be, a BFL, and a non-superwash BFL. It could be, more rustic yarns. And that is just samples of those. And then there is the mini set, which is superwash yarns from about 27 designers, or 27 dyers. And that is all, and the colors will all coordinate based on the logo for the year. And you can see the color palette on the website.
And then there's the one I got.
No, that's the one you got.
No, I got there's a bigger one than that.
I didn't think so. I didn't.
We'll look at what I actually bought.
I have to log in all the time. Oh, and yes, you do have to create a login for a special section of the site. That is how Indie Untangled is handling the traffic that is going to be probably increased due to this virtual event, which they're calling Indie Untangled Everywhere. So
Yes.
just be aware that it is not something, out of the ordinary. It's just so that they can monitor traffic and provide the correct amount of back-end
space.
support. No, there are only 2.
Okay, so I got that one.
Yes, you got that one. You got the one I just described.
29. No.
From 29 Bridge Studio from...
Hold on.
They're 20-gram minis.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
So you can get those. You can get the different merch, which includes bags and shirts, and the Indie Untangled sweater tags are now included. Those weren't on the website earlier.
No, I didn't see those.
So
before.
I might grab 1 or 2 now. Also be aware that we will be I also help Indie Untangled run typically the Indie Untangled event or leading up to the event knit along. I'm going to be helping again this year, and I believe we're starting that this week. I have to text Lisa.
You know what we're making?
You can make almost anything, but it has to be out of Indie Untangled yarn. So anyone who is on the Indie Untangled site.
Last year.
No, on the site. So you can be at the event, or you can be on the site but not at the event. Dragonfly used to be Indie Untangled.
But I bought La Bien Aimée.
Yes.
Okay.
She is on there.
Okay.
There's also going to be what Indie is calling Zoom Crafternoons and Craft Nights with guest designers, and they have a bunch of different different designers that will be hosting Zoom hangouts. I guess it's an interview plus a question and answer. They're going to be taking questions. They're also going to be possibly reviewing maybe difficult techniques that they have in their patterns, things like that. Lisa's a really great interviewer. If you were a part of any of her interviews that happened up till now, she's really great. All registered participants will also receive a PDF pattern or coupon code for a pattern from the designer.
Now, these are the ones you pay for?
Yeah. So they're all at different rates, obviously, to compensate as per the time that they're doing and or their own personal rate sheet. So
rate sheets, skill sets, the pattern
or
that they're going to be talking about.
Yes.
Whatever it's the agreement that the designer has.
But they are being paid. They are these are paid for interactions and events. There's also Friday Night Bingo, which will be hosted.
That's what I bought.
Oh, I didn't. I'm gonna get it. I need to because
I knew there was a third thing.
I know we have to do bingo. It's going to be run by Patrina, who was the last interview that was done, and she's a wonderful, wonderful human. I adore her.
I was on the fence, and then I saw Patrina was going to be doing it. I went, I'm in.
Yeah. So it's super fun. I've actually done bingo with her before.
You're going to sit here with me.
I'm going to have to do it with you. I know. It's okay. We will.
But for those of you who haven't been able to get to Indie Untangled, either because you're too far away or the tickets sold out or any number of different things, this is going to be a great year.
Yeah, so what it's going to be is essentially I believe we're going to have, times kind of like how Vogue does or any of the other online events do, where they have a highlighted person for a specific number of hours or whatever. And you go and you can interact, one-on-one as if you're in a booth. There will also be specials for that weekend, through the site, but you will be buying directly you will go through the Indie Untangled site, but you will be directed to the Dyer's designer's site. So you will be supporting the Dyer and designer directly, like you would at Indie Untangled, just so that everyone is clear. So that's going to be awesome. I'm in. I'm so excited. Mom and I know a few little little things that are very exciting that, hopefully will happen by that time. So we're excited for those to be released so that we can tell you about them. Nothing to do with us, just with friends that we know that are doing things. But yeah, so I think that's
about
what
all
we've
our
got.
news.
I'm also a two-tone Chevy over here, though.
Yeah, look this. I'm gray. I'm blonde. So, but I will probably be going.
But look at that
gray.
curl. Can we all just admire that right there?
That's not bad for someone who had absolutely stick straight hair.
Sorry, y'all. Didn't mean to be distracted by my own hair, but I was. So, yeah. Obviously, this week we are doing better than we were last week. Last week was Migraine City, and this week
we have brains.
Yeah, and we had mail. We have a lot of progress.
We did.
I'd say a lot of progress.
So, wait till you see my weaving.
I'm so excited for her to be able to show you her weaving. But again, if you are looking forward to Indie Untangled, make sure to check out Indie Untangled everywhere.
Yes.
It's going to be a great weekend.
It really will.
It's going to be a great weekend.
The only thing I haven't signed up for is the talks yet, but I'm in for bingo, and I'm in for the bag.
Well, because we need to talk about the
in for the minis.
Yeah. I got a bag. I'm going to... You and I will probably end up ordering a tag or two so that we can have our Indie Untangled sweaters. And then...
I probably will order a shirt.
I'm trying to tell myself, because I have a few of them and I'm not wearing t-shirts as much, that I don't need it.
Right.
I'm trying to tell myself this. Keyword, trying.
And Indie Untangled is trying to be very inclusive in their sizes, so they go from itty-bitty to much larger.
Yes.
So, for those of you who have seen Lisa and Patrina, they are the alpha and omega, pretty much of sizes, and Patrina has said that on the last Indie Untangled discussion.
Yes. So it's always...
I don't think Lisa makes 5 feet.
I don't...
And Patrina
I think she might.
Close to 6.
She's maybe my height. I think she's 5'9".
She's tall.
Yeah,
she's a tall woman.
Yeah.
So she's a long drink of water, and so they have taken into consideration the fact that you've got little tiny people and bigger people that all want to be a part of all of this.
Patrina very often, as she said in interviews, she has found that she doesn't always find shirts that fit from different places, and so that was one thing when she came to start working with Lisa on Indie, that, she made sure that the sizes were inclusive. So definitely check all that out, and I guess we will talk to you next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.